I didn't count a single calorie. I just ate this every single day. It's not trendy, it's not expensive, and it's not what the fitness world pushes. But it helped drop me to 14% body fat fast, and it keeps me at 14% body fat year round. Look, I was overweight, obese once too. But here is how I turned it all around. For 23 years, I was obese. Physically, mentally, I suffered with erectile dysfunction, inflammation, back pain, weight loss resistance, depression, high blood sugar, and high blood pressure. Here are some photos of me in my early 20s. Now, I carried the weight well, but this was considered obese. After I applied what I'm about to share you, in 9 months, I went from 250 pounds to 170 pounds. You can see the before and after on YouTube. 34% body fat to 6% body fat. And then I tested out this approach on thousands of people, and that's what I'm gonna share with you right now. Okay, let's start right here. This is the food, and that changed everything. What I started to do was actually eat more fat to lose fat, but it had to be the right healthy fats. So many people think fat makes you fat. That can be true if it's inflammatory fats, but there's a set of anti-inflammatory fats I started eating every day that helped my body melt fat. These fats helped me feel full and satisfied. They stabilized my blood sugar and insulin, and they helped my body unlock this switch to fat-burning metabolism. Okay, here are the fats I started eating every day, and I continue to eat every day to stay lean year-round. Grass-fed beef and lamb, wild-caught salmon, pasture-raised eggs with a yolk, avocados, half an avocado a day, extra virgin olive oil. I take a shot of that every single day, or sometimes drizzle that on my avocado with sea salt. And raw organic nuts like pecans, macadamia nuts, and something called pili nuts. When I was overweight, I feared fat. I bought low-fat everything, fat-free everything. But once I flipped that belief and embraced these healthy fats, my belly fat started to melt away. Same thing will happen to you. Okay, the next thing I did was I had a strategic carbohydrate strategy. I kept my total carbohydrates, and I keep it under 50 total grams of carbs per day on most days, with the exception of Sunday. Why? Because when you lower your carbs, you lower blood sugar and you lower insulin. This is the key. So many people are on ChatGPT, they're on Google searching for, how do I lose weight? That's the wrong question. The question should be, how do I lower insulin? When you lower insulin, you unlock fat burning. When you lower insulin, you start melting visceral fat. When you lower insulin, you have amazing energy levels. And carbohydrates will spike glucose and insulin way more than protein and fat. Check out this graph right here. This is a study showing the blood insulin response from carbohydrates, protein, and fat. And I know many of you are listening on the Metabolic Freedom Podcast, but what we're looking at here is that carbohydrates will raise blood insulin higher, way more than protein and fat. As a matter of fact, protein, very small response. Fat barely moves the needle on insulin. So by simply capping your total carbohydrates under 50 grams per day, and those carbs are coming from non-starchy carbohydrates, green leafy vegetables, low glycemic fruits like blueberries, you're going to lower insulin and burn fat. But you don't have to do this every single day. Here's something I do. On Sundays, I flex out, and I actually have a higher healthy carb day. This works for many reasons. Number one, it mixes things up. Your metabolism has to adapt. This is the key to sustainable fat loss. Number two, you don't feel restricted like you can never have carbs for the rest of your life. So on this day, I have white rice, fruit, sweet potatoes, masa chips. I have healthy carbohydrates, but here's the key. On a high carb day like a Sunday, it's a low fat day. There's no need to have those fats I mentioned earlier on a high carb day. You don't want high carb, high fat. So I actually cap my total fat at 50 grams or less, and I consume 150 grams of carbs on that feast day. This sort of carb cycling approach keeps your metabolism flexible. It prevents plateaus and stalls, and it actually feels pretty good to carb up for a day. Okay, the third thing that I did is I started to move intentionally. No, I didn't sign up for a gym membership and work out 60 minutes a day. As a matter of fact, I didn't spend any hours at the gym, any hours on a treadmill, or hours outside running and jogging. None of that actually works. I simply just started walking every day. And I, to this day, walk every day. I personally aim to get around 10 to 14,000 steps a day. And the key is that you want to walk Go for a 30-minute walk after your biggest meal of the day, which is typically dinner. You get the most fat loss benefits there. But walking lowers postprandial glucose, the blood sugar spike after eating. Walking helps you burn fat and prevents you from getting cravings like an hour at the gym. Now, if you add in some sprinting or some resistance training for just a couple times a week with those 10 to 14,000 steps a day, your body will actively be in a fat burning state. Body fat percentage will drop day by day. You'll start to melt fat and have energy and feel incredible. Which brings me to the fourth thing I started doing: sprints, strategic sprints. Twice a week, I do this, and this keeps me lean, energized, and resilient year round. And I want you to adopt the same principle. So I simply do this. I sprint, all out effort for 20 seconds. I'm running, but you could do cycling on a bicycle or swimming. You just want to make sure it's an all out 20-second effort, like you're running for your life, like a lion is chasing you, a tiger is chasing you. 20-second all out sprint. Then you lay down on the ground on your back for 90 seconds. So what happens here is you're activating your sympathetic nervous system while you sprint. You lie down, and then you go into a parasympathetic rest. And you do that. Let's consider that one round, the 20-second sprint and the 90-second recovery. That's one round. You do 3 rounds of that in one workout, just twice a week. That will cause your belly fat to melt off. That will actually help you produce nitric oxide, which lowers blood pressure, lowers blood sugar, prevents cardiovascular disease, or I should say lowers your risk of cardiovascular disease. All good things. You torch fat and improve your health outcome at the same time. And what it also does, it boosts hormone health like growth hormone and testosterone, and improves cardiovascular health. The fifth thing I did was I started to track the right metrics. Unfortunately, people are only tracking the number on the scale. But I have news for you. The weight on your scale, the number on your scale, the scale is a damn liar. I stopped obsessing over the scale. Those numbers can lie. And I started focusing on the following metrics. My body fat percentage. There's different ways to track your body fat percentage. There are calipers that you can buy on Amazon. Somebody needs to do this for you, where they measure different sites in your body and you get a percentage. It's not the easiest way to do it because you have to have somebody do it for you. There are also bioimpedance machines. Now, I do use this, and it's not 100% accurate, but it's like 95% accurate. But it gives you an idea of your baseline and trends, and it's very easy to do. You stand on a device, grab the handles, extend your arms, and in a minute or two, it gives you a body fat percentage. And it also tells you how much lean mass you have. It's pretty good. So I use an in-body scan for this. You could buy it on Amazon. I'll drop a link for it down below. There's also a DEXA scan, which is the most accurate way, where you actually find a facility that has a DEXA scan. You do that maybe every 30 or 60 or 90 days, and that is a very accurate way to test body fat. It's just something you can't do at home. I also paid attention to how my clothes fit. I also paid attention to my energy levels. Oh my gosh, my energy crashes in the afternoon started to go away. I paid attention to my skin complexion, digestion, my sleep. These are all what I call non-scale victories. And they're way more important than number on the scale, because you're not really looking to lose weight. You're looking to lose body fat. There's a big difference. Things like Ozempic, you lose weight. Calorie counting, you lose weight. Dieting, you lose weight. But a percentage of that is muscle, especially with Ozempic. About 38 to 50% of the weight that is lost is muscle loss. You don't want to lose muscle. You don't want to lose weight. You want to lose body fat. So that's why the scale could lie. It could be deceptive, especially as you're building lean muscle mass with this protocol. Muscle weighs more than fat. So you might drop 3% body fat in, let's say, the next 30 or 60 days, which is awesome, but the scale might stay the same. And if you're not paying attention to these metrics, you might be thinking, damn, this is not working. Ben's approach he's a liar. It may work for him, but it didn't work for me. Well, it's working for you. Pay attention to these non-scale victories. I would recommend only standing on the scale every 30 to 60 days. Not every day, not every week. It'll drive you crazy. And the next thing I did is I started to celebrate small wins. I'm a big believer that small tweaks lead to giant peaks. In other words, I talk about this in my latest book, Metabolic Freedom, 1 tweak a week. 1 tweak a week. I didn't overhaul everything all at once. I wouldn't recommend that for you either. I started with small, doable changes. For example, I swapped seed oils, vegetable oils, for healthier fats, right? This is a simple thing you can do right away to lower inflammation and burn fat. So I removed canola, corn, cottonseed oil, sunflower, soybean, safflower oil, rice bran oil, grapeseed oil. These are called seed oils, vegetable oils. I removed them. Actually, I swapped those out for avocado oil, olive oil, butter, ghee, beef tallow, coconut oil. That simple swap helped a lot. It'll help you. Once I mastered that, then I said, okay, now I'm going to walk 30 minutes after my biggest meal of the day. Then I started doing that. Then I said, okay, I'm going to only have protein and fat for breakfast, no more carbs. Okay, you can see how you just gain momentum and you get more confidence. You make that tweak a week and you build serious momentum for some sustainable results. And I'll give you some bonus hacks, bonus tips that have helped me over the years. I stay hydrated with high quality spring water and minerals. I think we're so mineral deficient, which causes a lack of energy, messes up your metabolism. So high quality minerals with water every single day. I started to incorporate fasting. A 24-hour fast once a week is a great strategy to stay lean and energized throughout the year. And I took vitamin G every single day. Now, this is something you can do right away. Vitamin G is anti-inflammatory, helps with the cortisol belly, which is belly fat. It helps with your mood. It helps with blood sugar, according to UC Davis, and blood pressure. It also helps to extend your lifespan, according to a study from Harvard published in JAMA. Now, vitamin G, I don't have a link for, I don't have a coupon code for, because vitamin G, it's vitamin gratitude. It's the feeling of gratitude. All of those benefits are when you feel gratitude. So every morning, I write down and I think about what I'm grateful for. And I recommend you do the same thing. And then the last thing that I did here before I give you the biggest lesson is I started to really track my sleep. And I realized that when I'm getting enough deep and REM sleep, I feel like a rock star the next day, and it's so much easier to just melt body fat. And I have found that if I'm not getting quality sleep, deep and REM sleep, I could be doing all these other things and the fat loss is just so slow. So I started to track my sleep with an Oura ring, and I'll drop a link for an Oura ring down below. You could also use an Apple Watch, a Fitbit, a Whoop band, whatever metric you want to track. But when I started getting 90 minutes of deep sleep and 90 minutes of REM sleep every night, oh my gosh, it was so easy to burn fat and drop my body fat percentage. It'll be easy for you. So I started to avoid food at least 3 hours before bed. That bumped up my deep and REM sleep. I turned the thermostat in my bedroom to 65 degrees Fahrenheit. That bumped up my deep sleep. I started to wear mouth tape, which helped me breathe through my nose. That bumped up my deep and REM sleep. I wore a sleep mask and earplugs. These are things you can do as well, and I'll drop a link for the mouth tape I use down below. But if you're tracking your sleep, get 90 minutes of deep and REM sleep, and you'll be in a fat burning state 24/7. Look, here's the biggest lesson. Going from 34% body fat at my highest to 6% body fat at my lowest, and maintaining 14% in my 40s year round wasn't about punishment. It wasn't about willpower. It wasn't about obsessing over calories and macros. I wasn't starving myself. It was about removing the interference. It was about alignment. It was about fueling my body with real food, moving daily, feeling gratitude, and getting deep restorative sleep. Look, I believe if I can do it, you can do it. Don't get caught up in quick fads and dietary trends. Focus on the principles that last a life. How do you keep carbs under 50 grams without feeling deprived? Well, when you increase those healthy fats and increase high quality protein, you're gonna feel satiated. You're gonna rewire your palate. And how do you know if you're going over that carbohydrate threshold? You would have to use a free tracker. I use Chronometer. If you go to chronometer.com/ketocamp, you could download it for free. You simply just input what you eat and it tells you exactly how many carbs you're having per day. Do you still walk 10,000 steps even on days you do sprints or gym workouts? I do. That's a standard for me to get every single day. When I travel, it's a bit harder. So I'm walking around the airport, I'm walking around the hotel lobby, I'm walking outside of the hotel, but I do aim to get that every single day. What were the first changes you noticed when you started eating more fat? I noticed that I didn't feel sluggish after meals. I didn't get the afternoon energy crash, and I had more stable energy levels throughout the entire day, less of a reliance on caffeine and stimulants. Is there a best time of day to do sprints for fat burning? There is. I'll tell you the worst time. You don't want to do sprinting at night. You don't want to exercise at night because you don't want to activate your nervous system, your sympathetic nervous system right before bed. Not a good idea. The morning is the best time, especially if you do it on an empty stomach. Now, I understand for some people that might be very difficult in the beginning, but as you get more metabolically flexible, doing those sprints on an empty stomach in the morning will probably 2 to 3 times your results here. That's what I would recommend. I hope this lesson was valuable. Please share it with somebody you know. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you on my fat loss masterclass over at meltyourfat.com.